Today's listener submission comes from someone who grew up in Lafayette, Louisiana, in a house that on paper should have been perfectly ordinary. A two-story place on Strasbourg, yellow siding, bay window, big backyard. Nothing that would make you think twice. But the family didn't know when they moved in that the house had a history, and they definitely didn't know it had company. This listener asked to stay anonymous, and after hearing what they experienced in that house, I understand why. Some childhood memories stay with you because they're sweet. Others stay because they're strange, and some stay because they never really let go. Here's their story. I was 6 when my family moved into a 2-story yellow house on Strasbourg in Lafayette. It had a bay window out front and a big backyard that felt huge to a kid. The upstairs wasn't finished yet, just cosmetic stuff, but we didn't care. My brother and I mostly slept downstairs in the room we shared. Before we moved in, the landlord told my dad that a construction worker had fallen during the build, died from the fall. After that, he said crews kept quitting. Nobody wanted to finish the upstairs. My dad didn't make much of it. Adults kind of shrug off things that a lot of kids would obsess over. At first, the house seemed perfect. We made friends in the neighborhood. We ran around the neighborhood until the streetlights came on. Everything felt normal. But the dog noticed things before we did. He chased something none of us could see into corners, up walls, down the hallway, barking like he was trying to scare it off. Sometimes he'd stand in the middle of the living room and growl at empty air. We'd tell him to stop, but he wouldn't. He was seeing something that we weren't. There were moments, small ones, that I kept to myself. I'd walk out of the downstairs bathroom and see a little shadow dart toward me. It wasn't a trick of the light. It had shape and movement. It would chase me out of the hallway and into the living room. I never told anyone. I didn't think anyone would believe me. I still wonder if that's what the dog was reacting to. Other things happened too. We'd hear horse hooves on the street outside even though it was empty. My brother once saw a soldier standing in the bedroom doorway. I told him I saw a face in the second-story window. We were kids, but we weren't making it up. But the worst thing, the thing that stayed with me, happened one night while I was lying in bed. I wasn't asleep yet. I was just staring at the ceiling, waiting for my eyes to get heavy, and then something moved at the foot of my bed. Slow, crawling. I could see the curve of its back, the way it shifted its weight on all fours. I froze. I didn't want to look directly at it, so I glanced over toward my brother's bed to make sure he was still there. And that's when something stood up, right beside my bed. It rose from the floor in this tall, lumbering way, too tall for the room, leaning over me like it had to hunch over to fit. I didn't see its face. I didn't want to. I grabbed my covers so fast, and I pulled them over my head. I must have fallen asleep eventually because I don't remember anything else after that. The next morning I told my dad. He said it was probably just him checking on me, but I know better. Whatever stood next to my bed wasn't my dad. Years later, I overheard my dad and brother talking about the things I saw in that house. The crawling thing, the tall figure, all of it. I asked them why they never told me they believed me. My dad said he didn't want to scare me, so he told me it was my imagination. But it wasn't. I know what I saw. I know what I felt in that house. And even now, decades later, when I think about that yellow house on Strasbourg, the unfinished upstairs, our dog barking at empty corners, the soldier in the doorway, the face in the window, the thing that crawled and the thing that stood, I don't think of it as a haunted house in the movie sense. I think of it as a place that never finished being built. a place interrupted, a place that held on to something it shouldn't have. And for the years we lived there, that something lived with us.